Yo guys, Vision SGN here, bringing you Marvel Rivals' 3 best support heroes in the game right now in Season 1, how to play them including their abilities, when to use them, and what you want to avoid doing as a support player in this game to help your team and win you games. If there's anyone in this list that I did not mention that you think should be in this list, let me know down below in the comments, and let's get right into it. So first things first, just before we get started, I wanted to just clarify that this was by far the hardest list that I've had to make so far for any of the top threes, as I truly believe all 8 support heroes in this game right now are just incredible in Season 1, and for the most part, there are more unique characters, but this list is based on my own experience as playing with these heroes and alongside these heroes in competitive and casual, and I'll explain towards the end in more detail while each hero is in this list, but also I wanted to just go over the remaining support heroes that I don't mention to justify some key points as to why I think they don't make it to the top 3, but also as to why you could put them in your top 3. And on that note, coming in at number 3 on this list is none other than Rocket. He's one of my favourite heroes to use in the game right now in Season 1, and also one of my favourite characters in the movies. He's the only real support hero I play when I'm needed, as I usually main the tanks, and to be honest, I don't really play a lot of the support heroes, but here's what you need to know about Rocket. So overall, Rocket is a great support hero, but he's not the best healer. And just bear that in mind because this list is not the 3 best healers in Season 1. This is the 3 best support characters in the game right now. And it's important you understand that because he has great abilities which provide good support for your team, and his ultimate is very misunderstood and almost underutilized for the most part. So how do you use Rocket? Well, there's a couple of ways really. Some players are more damage focused and will really use his Bombard mode, which is his minigun. It's fully automatic and surprisingly powerful. It shreds through shields such as Doctor Strange and Magneto, but for the most part, players use him really as a healer. Now with this, you need to understand that he has only real one way of healing other players, by utilizing his L2, also known as his repair mode, which fires 8 yellow healing orbs, and they are great, but this is where you need to factor in what other healer you have on your team, as this is often where the problem lies. Because, in my opinion, Rocket is not a second healer. He's a great second support, and there's definitely a difference, which I'll get into in a second. And most players don't understand that I've come across. And you can definitely get away with using him as your second support hero in the squad, but you need to make sure that you have a primary healer, such as Cloak, or Luna, or Invisible Woman. However, as a support, Rocket's amazing, and he, like I said, he is a great second support hero to have in the squad, as he can place down a revive beacon, known as the BRB ability, by pressing R1, as well as his ultimate, which increases the team's damage significantly and allows you to shred its enemies, especially when paired with the likes of Punisher or Winter Soldier and Moon Knight, etc. Rocket also has a very cool team-up ability with Groot, known as Old Friends, which allows him to sit on Groot's shoulder by pressing circle, and he can almost sit here and deal an insane amount of damage, as he's such a small character with a small hitbox. Most players don't even see him or can barely hit him, so this is a good thing to utilize if you're playing with Groot. Or you can simply sit on his shoulder and just heal, whilst being involved in the chaos allows you to focus more on the key players who are pressed up high and diving on the enemy team. You can also simply get away from situations using Rocket's jetpack. By pressing L1 allows him to evade from situations. He gets 2 uses of this. In addition to this, you can also crawl up walls, as one of his passive abilities allows him to evade out of danger and to get to safety by holding X next to walls. Now this tends to be where the higher skilled Rocket mains excel, as staying alive as a support hero is paramount for your team to staying alive, and it's easy to be dove on at the backline or sniped if you're just sitting there. So it's definitely key to master this style of movement and develop those sort of almost 6th senses as a Rocket main. It's also good to find the middle ground in the action, where you're almost close enough to the action where you can heal players in all areas, but also where you're far enough away from the action where you're safe and can't be isolated and singled out. And finally, Rocket also has a second team-up ability known as Ammo Invention, which allows him to throw down an ammo overload device by pressing triangle, and grants both Winter Soldier and Punisher unlimited ammo and enhanced damage for a short period of time. Now this is incredibly overpowered and should be utilized when you're paired with these characters. Now note, just as a little trick I've learned along the way when playing modes like Payload, you want to throw this device onto the objective to allow your DPS heroes to continuously move with the objective, as the payload device will stick with the objective. And that's pretty much Rocket as a whole and why he comes in at number 3. So coming in at number 2 on the list is Luna Snow. If this list wasn't already controversial enough, this was hard for me to decide, but for me, she's the second best healer in the game right now, and is why she comes in at number 2. Her ultimate is really effective and one of the best by far to have for a support player. I think if you understand Luna's abilities, you'll agree with me that she belongs in this top 3. I mean, for the most part, she is a healer-focused character who deals great amount of heals. She can also do a great amount of damage, and with the movement of this character, it's super effective when you're trying to keep pace with your teammates, but also try and focus on multiple teammates. Luna has this great movement ability, which allows her to almost sprint. As you'll see, there is ice every time she steps when you're in this sprint motion, and this allows her to get from one place to the other really quickly and effectively heal most teammates around the map, as you can get from A to B, focus on a DPS player that's almost isolated, but then get back to your main tank. So definitely a character I think most players need to be using. Luna's definitely one of the most common support heroes to use in the game right now. She's a very good primary healer, and in this current meta in Season 1, where we have triple support being used quite frequently, you'll see Luna paired with a Cloak or an Invis woman quite often, and it's mainly due to the ultimate ability, but also she works very well with the likes of Loki, who's quite damage oriented, and because of his ultimate, you can almost get 2 of Luna's abilities. But also, as I mentioned, Rocket or Mantis as a more damage focused third support makes it really useful to have a Luna or a Cloak in your lineup. So how do you use Luna Snow? Well, in my opinion, she's one of the more complicated supports to learn, as you need to really understand the abilities and to what effect you need to be playing, in the sense that there are certain angles where she excels or certain areas where she's going to be more effective. So, for example, her R1 ability allows her to channel healing in a straight line of sight in the direction which you're facing, but also deals damage. Therefore, you're going to benefit more by playing those more tighter angles in hallways and sort of in those tighter areas where you can really funnel heals down a channel. Whereas if you're in a more open environment, you're going to deal with far less heals and less damage, and more likely not be able to heal multiple teammates within your lineup. Now, of course, you can just press R2 to heal anyone on your team, but to be really effective and to utilize his characters to her best abilities, you want to be pressing R1 and creating a line of sight with multiple teammates. That way you can focus on healing all of them in one action and be more effective as a healer. You can also freeze enemies by pressing L2, which allows them to be stunned or frozen, which can then lead to your team taking other enemies out with ease, such as tanks or aggravated diving characters such as Wolverine and Iron Fist, and this is a real problem when you come across a Luna who knows how to use this well and can catch players in the move. And I think that's important because a lot of support heroes and mains forget how important it is for you to be dealing damage as a healer as well. You'll get Cloak players who are really good at doing this when they swap between Cloak and Dagger. But for Luna players, you're also really good at killing other enemies. Her R2 is really powerful when you deal critical shots, as well as her R1, which can actually snipe other players with ease if you line up multiple consecutive shots. So just remember that when you're playing as support, that you're also responsible for being damage focused when needed. So when you have a ranged player on your team that's sitting close to you for heals, like a Moon Knight or maybe a Hela, you also can help out deal with diving characters who will try to target both of you. And by mastering this as a Luna player, you'll become a lot more independent as a support, and you'll also be a lot less reliant on your duelists or DPS to keep you alive. That way, you'll be able to focus more on healing. And as a whole, that's why Luna comes in at number 2 on this list, because she's so versatile and very well-rounded, and just one of the best healers as a whole on this game right now in Season 1. And coming in at number 1 is Cloak and Dagger themselves, as I'm sure most people expected to see on this list. This is the best support hero to be using right now in Season 1, due to the incredible healing and damage capabilities, but also this is largely due to the ultimate ability, which is very overpowered right now. Now, of course, the hero is split into 2 characters, Cloak and Dagger. Dagger is the healer of the 2 and is really good at keeping your teammates alive, with the primary ability, Light Force Dagger, by pressing R2, can heal both teammates and hurt enemies. When paired alongside the Light Explosion ability by pressing L1, this unleashes a wall of healing in the direction you're facing, which is really effective and definitely needs to be used more. But also the Dagger Storm, by pressing L2, places a small bubble which heals teammates very well and also damages enemies that are caught within it. All of these abilities make Dagger really effective at helping earn her ultimate ability extremely fast with an energy cost of 3,400 points, which is really low by the way, and allows Cloak and Dagger to activate the Eternal Bond ultimate, which consists of 4 phases of healing and damage. It's super overpowered right now and is getting nerfed, but when you're in the ultimate, you'll be able to dash 4 times, leaving behind a healing mist, which also damages enemies, but the healing is extremely powerful as it makes your teammates virtually unkillable for the duration of the ultimate. I will add that this ultimate is being nerfed in the latest update, which is probably coming out as this video arrives on YouTube, but it's a necessary nerf in my opinion, as the ultimate is far too easy to earn and just too difficult to deal with, which I'll probably explain in another upcoming video of mine, which I'll explain and go over the 5 most broken characters or most annoying characters for me in my experience to deal with right now in Season 1. But anyways, as for Cloak, he is the other part of the duo, and he is great at dealing damage if you use the character right. With his auto lock-on capabilities, it makes it really easy to eliminate or back down the squishy players, especially those pesty diving characters with unreal evasive movement, such as Spider-Man, Iron Fist, Black Panther, or Iron Man. When you're playing on console, it's impossible to deal with these characters, so you need that auto lock, which is designed to counter these players specifically. And when paired with other abilities such as Terror Cape, which blinds the enemy team when hit directly with this ability for a short period of time by pressing L1, and this can be really effective. Also, make sure you're using the dark teleportation ability by pressing L2, allows Cloak to go invisible for a short period of time, which you can then use to evade from danger, but also back to your team. And it can also speed teammates up for a short period of time when used within close proximity. So maybe use this a lot at the start of the game to get your teams progress up the map a lot quicker. And as well as this, you can obviously switch between both of the characters, as I mentioned, by pressing R1, and use this to both heal and damage, depending on the situation. But for the most part, you want to primarily be healing, as this will benefit your team more, and as the primary healer of the team and the main support, you'll also earn your ultimate faster by being Dagger. However, as I mentioned before with Luna, being an effective damage dealer when needed for your team, especially on those diving heroes, it's very important and necessary to keeping you and your team alive, and this will elevate your game massively, helping you win games and making you a lot better at the game. The higher skill players and where the skill gap lies is with this hero by being good at switching between the two heroes and knowing when to do so and why. So I'd highly suggest you try and master this aspect of this hero, as you don't want to be just using one of the two. And that is for me why Cloak comes in at number 1 on this list, as the character is the most broken support in the game right now in my opinion, largely due to the ultimate, but overall with it having 2 characters I find it extremely overpowered. And just quickly, before I finish the video, I wanted to quickly give a shout out to the other characters quickly on some key points for each of them, as for the most part, all 8 support heroes are viable and definitely worth mentioning to be switched into this list, and I'm sure others will have different opinions on who should be top 3. So as for Jeff, he's technically the best or most capable healer of the 8 supports. However, I just don't find the character a viable healer, but with the unlimited range and the bubbles that he can place, makes him very versatile, and with the ultimate you could argue maybe worth putting in the top 3, but I just don't agree with it. Loki, of course, is definitely worth mentioning, as I'm sure others will have Loki in their top 3. As a healer, he's decent. He's not the top 3 for me, but if you're really good at using him and placing his clones well, then you can definitely make an argument for it. And obviously with the ultimate being able to mirror the likes of Luna or Cloak, or anyone really, but them two being the main heals, it's definitely worth mentioning Loki. I've seen him used a lot of the higher divisions as I've progressed through to Grandmaster and so on. You could also then mention Warlock, as I see him used at the pro level quite often, based on probably the ultimate being effective when used right, or the damage that the character can output. It's probably used in more of a 3 support meta. Of course, Mantis with damage boosting capabilities and the sleep mechanic, really effective, but probably not top 3 for me. And then of course Invisible Woman, the ultimate's really powerful, really effective. The bubble ability that she can place for heals are really good, and the Psionic Surge ability is really, really good. And I've seen it used very well at some scenarios where you can push players off the map or off the objective. So yeah, as a whole, all 8 supports can definitely be used in this game, and I really enjoy using them. I don't main them, but I definitely enjoy using them when needed. But if you're a really good support player, I would consider using the top 3 in this list, definitely. But anyways, that's the list as a whole. If you don't agree with the video, please let me know down below who you would put into this list or who you would take out. And if I've got this list completely wrong, just let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Visionist Gen, and I'll see you in the next one.